This is America on the Road, winner of the International Automotive Media Conference Gold Medal Award for Radio, and now in its 25th year on the air. Thanks for being with us as we bring you the latest automotive information from around the world. The Auto Pacific Vehicle Satisfaction Awards are in, and we'll tell you which car is America's most satisfying. And Ferrari is back on track financially, and we'll have details on that. America on the Road is brought to you by Mercury Insurance and DrivingToday.com. If you're looking to save some money, you should switch to Mercury for your auto and home insurance. Californians save an average of $670 with Mercury, so imagine how much you could save. Get a quote today at mercuryinsurance.com. Hi, I'm Jack Nerad. With me is Chris Teague. We're usually across the country from each other, but we're actually across the desk from each other in Palo Alto, California. And it's great to see his smiling face. He's almost smiling here. We're happy to be joining you on the Sports Map Radio Network. So welcome to America on the Road, and we hope you make it a weekly habit just like we do. And Chris, it's great to be broadcasting with you in the same room.
I agree, and I can't say enough about the weather here. I always love hearing your stories about it, but now I get to experience it. No humidity, bright sunshine, can't beat it.
Chris is based in Maine. I am based in Southern California. I'm in Central California now, or some people would call this Northern California. I don't quite call it that, but in any case, he is enjoying the California weather, the sunny California weather. Chris, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, Jack, as we talked about last time, I'm from Tennessee originally. I moved to Maine about 10 years ago, almost 11 years ago now, and met my wife and have a couple of great children. I've been reviewing vehicles and talking about cars and technology for 5 or 6 years now, and I work for Forbes and Driving Today, J.D. Power, Kelley Blue Book, and others. So really happy to be a part of the show and happy to have everybody along for the ride.
Well, we love having you on the show, Chris, and I've been doing this show for a long, long time. I've been around this business for, quite a while. Let's put it that way. Right now, I'm president of the Motor Press Guild, which is the largest organization of auto journalists in the country. I'm vice president of the North American Car of the Year jury, so that's fun to do. And back in the past, I was editor of Motor Trend for a while. Then I was executive editorial director at Kelley Blue Book, so I've been reviewing cars for a really long time. And again, doing this radio show for about 25 years, so excited about that. And we're excited to have everybody along for the ride with us, too. Our special guest today is Randy Dale. He is a Nissan product planner, and he'll be telling us all about the brand new Nissan Frontier pickup truck. In the road test segment, Chris, tell us what you'll be talking about.
I'm going to be talking about the 2021 Toyota Avalon.
In fact, there's more to that story than meets the eye. I will be giving my review of the Ford Mustang GT. So stay with us for that, and join us right back here for automotive news when we come back. Thanks for being with us right here on America on the Road. Welcome back, everybody, to America on the Road with Chris Teague, Jack Nerad back with you, and we're still enjoying, so far, broadcasting out of the same room, which we rarely do because we live across the country from one another. But it is news time, and there's a lot of interesting news going on, heaven knows, and we teased the fact that we would tell you about the most satisfying vehicles out there. So let's talk a bit about the Auto Pacific Awards, their 2021 Vehicle Satisfaction Award. They survey 89,000 new car and light truck owners, and they've been doing this for 25 years, about as long as we've been doing America on the Road. And this year's winners are across 12 manufacturers and 14 different brands. Interesting car companies that gathered the most satisfying vehicles, aren't there?
I agree. And, it's funny to look at the list of vehicles that consumers say that they love versus the list of vehicles that auto reviewers and journalists say that they love. So it's kind of a divide in some spaces, but some of these are actually, pretty obvious and things that I would absolutely agree with.
Right. Well, Nissan Motor Company and General Motors have 5 VSA awards each. So that's interesting. I don't know that we would immediately believe that were the case, but we're not the consumers out there being asked about it. And then Stellantis, of course, the parent company of Chrysler, Jeep, and Ram, have 3 VSA awards, and then others are out there. The top premium brand is what, Chris?
Lincoln.
Yeah, Lincoln. Okay, we're all okay with it. And I think what one has to keep in mind here is these are awards given by people, or they derive the awards by asking people how they like their vehicles. And so, obviously, Lincoln owners really like their vehicles. Now, whether they would really like other vehicles if they had another vehicle or what, they really like their vehicles. And on the mainstream side, GMC, which is kind of a premium brand, not necessarily even mainstream, is the top brand. What are your thoughts on that?
It's interesting to talk about it because Lincoln, if you drive a Lincoln back to back, like a Navigator back to back with an Escalade, there's kind of a personality difference there. Obviously a personality difference, but the Lincoln brand is very much its own thing, and I enjoy what they're doing. So good for them. And GMC being the premium sort of brand to Chevrolet with the Sierra pickup truck and some of their SUVs, I can absolutely see it. Their 2021 models, the refreshed full-size SUVs, some of the features they've added to the pickup trucks. So not a big surprise there. What is surprising to me, or at least entertaining, is that the most satisfying truck or SUV is the Mercedes-Benz G-Class.
That is entertaining, but I think even more entertaining than that, my friend, is the fact that the Toyota Avalon is the top scoring vehicle along with the Mazda Miata. And we have other news about the Toyota Avalon, don't we?
We do. The news came down very recently, I think today, in fact, that Toyota will be discontinuing the Avalon after the 2022 model year.
So it was the top scoring vehicle, but that's not enough to save it, which shows, again, the people who own Avalons are enthusiastic about them, but there might not be enough of them to sustain a vehicle in the marketplace.
That's true, and Toyota says that their sales of the Avalon peaked in the year 2000. That's just 6 years after they introduced the car, and quite a long time ago. So I believe the Dodge Challenger is the segment leader. Is that correct?
Yep, I think that is absolutely correct, and we'll see what happens when that goes onward and outward. Let's name some of the vehicles that are most satisfying. This, again, according to Auto Pacific and their list of the most satisfying vehicles that are satisfying their owners. The mainstream compact car, big segment still, is the Nissan Sentra. Full-size pickup truck, the Ram 1500. Large SUV. We've talked about large SUVs a lot on this show. I don't know that either you nor I would choose the Nissan Armada as the top one. What's your take?
Now, we talked about the Armada just, 4 or 5 months ago maybe, and we liked it, but there's so many great options. We talked about GMC. The newly refreshed full-size SUVs from GMC and Chevrolet are great. So that's a surprise, although the Armada is not bad at all.
Absolutely. It's a nice vehicle. I just think the newer GM products are outdo it. Another vehicle on the list, midsize SUV, Jeep Grand Cherokee. Not a bad choice, I think, but again.
No, it'll be interesting to see where this lands for 2022 after the refresh takes hold and people have a taste of the new product.
Right. You know, we just had the new product in my driveway last week, and we will be talking about that pretty soon. But I certainly like the new Jeep Grand Cherokee L, and it'll be interesting to see what the Grand Cherokee, the new gen Grand Cherokee, which is very much like the Grand Cherokee L, is like when it hits the market. Midsize crossover SUV is the Nissan Rogue. Again, a good choice in the segment, but not necessarily what I would say is the number one choice.
No, again, really enjoyed my time with the Rogue, but there are so many other great choices in the segment that it's tough to boil that one to the top, at least for me.
Right. And then we talked about minivan recently on the show, and Chris Teague, of course, is a special fan of minivans, not to mention the Toyota Venza. But the minivan is, well, you do the honors. You're Mr. Minivan.
The minivan is the Chrysler Pacifica, and Jack, I actually agree with this one. At least prior to the Kia Carnival and everything else, I think the Pacifica is a great vehicle. It's super comfortable, especially if we're talking about the hybrid powertrain that they've included there. So I'll buy that one.
Yeah, I get that. The Toyota Sienna now also has hybrid powertrain, and if memory serves, it's hybrid only,
yes,
right?
Hybrid across the board.
So I like that vehicle a lot, but the Chrysler Pacifica certainly is a great minivan. And then we've been enamored of the Kia Carnival recently, too, so that shows where we are. We're both family guys, of course, and so in some ways, I guess we kind of dig the minivan. I'm a little surprised by that, but because the next story I'm going to talk about is something far different. It is Ferrari. And Ferrari has surged back in growth. I don't think the COVID-19 pandemic did a lot for that super luxury brand, super luxury sporty brand. But it has rebounded very, very significantly. Its current profit for the second quarter was $245 million. So you and I would take that, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it has a good outlook going forward. It's going to have a new CEO. So they've done really well, and they're changing CEOs. I think they had an interim CEO who is bowing out in favor of Benedetto Vigna, who is an Italian executive. It sounds like an Italian executive, doesn't it?
I would assume so, but this might be a classic case, and I'm guessing here, but this might be a classic case of win on Sunday, sell on Monday. Ferrari has done better on the grid in Formula One this year. Not perfectly, but a lot better. Maybe driving some excitement there, but people who can afford to buy Ferraris were not hit as hard last year as the rest of us, or some of us were, so that's not a super surprise.
Yeah, I think what happens with a brand like Ferrari, obviously if you're going to buy a Ferrari, you're not worried about recessions too much. But what you are worried about is the perception of buying a luxury car while other people are suffering through a recession or something like a pandemic, which is even worse than a recession, right? So it's just not the time to indulge yourself. And I think that's probably the reason that Ferrari didn't do all that great during the pandemic. Not so much that the people can't afford it, but more the people just, this isn't the time to do that.
That makes sense, yep.
Yeah. And we see that a lot. So that is, do you have a piece of automotive news for us as we leave the segment? No, you don't. Okay. Well, maybe I'll figure out something. I had one more piece too. I can fiddle with this, so don't worry about that.
Oh, sorry.
I will talk about this. And here's a bit of news as we're going out of this segment. GM is going to offer new Super Cruise capabilities, and they're going to do it on 6 vehicles for 2022, which kind of surprised me, that number of vehicles that will have Super Cruise. Of course, this is their play toward autonomous operation, and it's going to be on multiple vehicles, and they're going to do more things. Super Cruise will do more things. It will help you trailer. It will do automatic lane changing, and the navigation display will be enhanced. That's good. Maybe it's looking at its own navigation display. It becomes kind of more a video game for you, right?
Yeah, well, the Escalade that I drove a few months ago now did have some of that built into the gauge cluster. It's an augmented not virtual reality, but augmented navigation in the gauge cluster. But it's really interesting. I love this trailering feature that they've got because that's one of the things that you're driving on long haul trips. It's very fatiguing to tow and to deal with the stresses of worrying about the trailer, and that's just an extra, a bit of a load off of your mind. So I really like that.
Yes, exactly. It's a load on your car, but a load off your mind. So that is all good. And that's coming up. And there will be even more vehicles, 22 vehicles that will have Super Cruise by 2023.
I can't wait to see it.
When we come back, we're going to be taking a look at the Toyota Avalon and waving a fond goodbye to the Toyota Avalon. And I will give my review of the Ford Mustang GT. So stay with us for that. And thanks for being with us right here on America on the Road. Welcome back, everybody, to America on the Road with Chris Teague, Jack Nerad with you. And it is road test time. And we have, I think, an interesting mix of vehicles here, including a vehicle that we're going to say adios to. And that is the Toyota Avalon. Tell us a bit about it while people can still buy it, Chris.
Yeah, it's a little sad for me because I'm an Avalon fan, as you mentioned, also a Venza fan, so maybe just a Toyota fan for all intents and purposes. But,
and a really dull car fan.
But I tested the 2021 Toyota Avalon Limited. This is with all-wheel drive. We tend to get all-wheel drive vehicles in New England when we test them, when they are available with them. The price here lands just a hair under $44,500. This car has got a 2.5-liter four-cylinder engine paired with an 8-speed automatic transmission, 205 horsepower, 185 pound-feet of torque. And you may have noticed, if you've seen an Avalon recently, that they have become quite a bit more aggressive. In fact, the Toyota Camry and the Avalon have become more aggressive-looking and sportier-looking overall. But This car is still very much a large family cruiser. It's very docile and calm and comfortable. It's not quick, so let's go ahead and get that out of the way. But it's a little bit more than about that. So we always talk about how tall I am on this show, but at 6 feet tall in the front seat of this car, I felt like I could stretch out back and have many people behind me in the back seat. And I don't know how you feel about
maybe hundreds. Who knows? It's hard to know.
I'll just say, Jack, we talk about cars and trucks a lot, but the full-size sedan is kind of a dying breed. So I'm still very much a fan of that segment. What do you think?
I am a fan of sedans. Trucks were for trucks. They're for trucking, for commercial use and that kind of thing. There were some kind of cool things, too. I loved International Scouts when I was a kid. I don't know if you remember that vehicle at all, but kind of almost a farming vehicle.
I really wanted one when I was in high school.
In some ways. But we digress. I think the fact that Avalon is going away is not a reflection on the car so much as the segment. It's a really good car. In fact, it's gotten to be so much better. It's really at its height right now. And I think it's a really good car. It's kind of a shame that we're going to say goodbye.
I agree. And, we talked a little bit about this car a long time ago on the show. And I think I said then this is a Lexus in all but name. It's very much a refined vehicle. The cabin materials are soft touch and they're gorgeous to look at. There are some plastics here and there, but again, this is a very premium feeling vehicle. It's got 18-inch super chrome alloy wheels, real wood interior trim. I mean, how often do you see real wood interior trim in a Toyota? But perforated leather seats with heating and ventilation. 14-speaker JBL sound system, and a 9-inch touchscreen that runs Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. And one of the things that I really like that Toyota has done, and we've talked about this too, is that some of their infotainment systems in the past have been a little difficult to use. There's too many touches to get to the feature or the function that you want to find. And they've done away with some of those extra touches. It's still not as smooth as like a Ford Sync or Chrysler Uconnect, but it's light years away from where it was even just a couple of years ago. And then, Apple CarPlay is a great way to bring in a familiar interface to the car. And one thing that I also love about this, and this is a family thing for me, is that the safety features in these cars, they come standard with Toyota Safety Sense. So you've got lane departure alerts, road departure mitigation, a whole host of other features. And the limited trim steps up, and it's got LED headlights with adaptive cornering lights and things that really improve the visibility of the car. And so on the road, this is, in Maine, I always love to joke in the articles that I write about how rough the roads are after winter. It seems that this year they've just remained that way. So we're still riding on them in summer. And this car just eats it up. It's just willing to take the miles and keep chugging. So all around, I think that I won't say it's a shame because it's a segment. We've talked about the way that things are going, but I'll be sad to see it go.
Yeah, it really, I will say it's a shame. It is a shame to see because I think they finally got it right. It wasn't always right. When it was kind of a stretch Camry before, when it started and wasn't all that dynamically good. I think it is so much better now, and the fact that it shares the platform with the Lexus ES has made it that much better. So I really like the Avalon. I don't know if I like the idea of driving an Avalon, but I sure like the vehicle itself. The hardware is really good, and I've got to believe, even in this area and period of time when there's such a car shortage, an Avalon is probably a pretty good buy.
I agree. Maybe we should start a petition to get them to stick around for a little while longer.
Yeah. We'll see where that goes.
Yeah, probably nowhere.
Yeah, exactly nowhere. Well, I was driving a vehicle that has a much longer history than the Toyota Avalon, and that is the Ford Mustang. I was driving the GT version of the Mustang. And, of course, the Mustang invented the pony car segment, I think before you were born, Chris, but I was around when it happened. It was very, very cool. Well, of course, the Mustang invented the pony car segment, the small, sporty car segment in America, and took the nation by storm. And then it's had its ups and downs, and it's 50 years have passed and more. And kind of amazing to me because my lifespan has kind of paralleled that of the Mustang. But, and I guess I've had my ups and downs too. But it's survived and thrived, and it's continuing to thrive. I mean, this is one of the few cars out there that still sells in great numbers and is very profitable for its manufacturer. And they keep adding models and keep upgrading and doing that kind of stuff. And certainly we have seen that with the Mustang GT. Of course, we also have seen the Mustang go electric with that particular vehicle. So we'll see those running around. But that has kind of almost nothing to do with what we're talking about here, which is the original pony car a la 2021. They added the Mach 1 submodel for 2021, but I still think the GT is probably the better buy or the best buy among all the Mustangs out there. And the reason being is you get a very powerful V8 engine, certainly the basis of Mustang, and the things that go with it. You can get larger brake rotors, you can get more performance equipment, you can get wide 18-inch tires, the whole 9 yards. It's nice that they put them on 18-inch wheels, too, because if you're going to have 18-inch tires, you better have 18-inch wheels. It's not as expensive as the Mach 1, and frankly, it's not as sophisticated. But for most of us who just want a little fun with the car, I think it's really a cost-effective solution. It has a base price of $37,315. And just by way of comparison, the Mach 1 has a base price of $52,915. So you can see why I'm kind of enthusiastic about the value of the Mustang GT. I'm actually quite enthusiastic about the value of the Mach 1 as well. I think for that kind of money, it provides one heck of a lot of performance. But that's not the basis of this particular review. We're looking at the Mustang GT. 460 horsepower from its 5-liter V8, which is plenty. In comparison, the Mach 1 has 480 horsepower. I defy one to feel the difference. Maybe you can. There are some differences in terms of transmissions and that kind of stuff, but if you get the 10-speed transmission in the GT, you're going to have a feel that's very much like the Mach 1. So that is all to the good, and there's plenty of power there. And, of course, these are rear-drive platforms, and they revel in it. What they don't revel in is fuel economy. With the manual transmission, it offers a stellar 15 miles per gallon in the city and 24 miles per gallon on the highway. If you put in the 10-speed automatic, the numbers actually go up. That's what we're finding with automatics these days. I'm going on and on about this, but what's your take on the Mustang GT?
Well, I would say that I agree totally with you on the value statement. I think that they've priced it right, and they sell enough of them that they don't have to charge an arm and a leg to get it. But the cars are solid. They've got the chassis tuning down to where it handles well. It's a refined car on the highway. You could drive one all day, and it stays quiet. It's comfortable. The aftermarket support is tremendous for these cars. So if you want to do a track day, you could take your car to the track. As you said, throw some larger brakes and some sticky tires on, and then take it home and park it in the garage and drive the kids to school on Monday. And you've got plenty of power to do whatever you want. And the styling changes, I was a little bit awash with Mustang styling in the early 2000s and mid 2010s, but I think they've got it right. It's a really sharp looking car too. So, do you want or need the Mach 1? Sure. I mean, why not? More power, more everything is better. But the GT is great. The 5-liter is a great engine, and for most people, that's more than enough.
Right. We should talk a bit about the interior. And I think that one of the beauties of the Mustang is the interior goes very well with the power. That they go hand in hand. As you add more power and expense and all that stuff, you get a nicer interior. It's just cooler interiors. They're also very performance oriented, which I guess kind of makes sense. But I think they're a comfortable interior for two. For any more than two, the people in the back seat, well, they're not having a great time.
Well, that's any sports car, really. But yeah, there are seats, but they might just be decoration.
Right. Yeah. Great for grocery bags. I think good infotainment system as well. It has the Sync 3 system with an 8-inch capacitive touchscreen, 9-speaker audio, which is good, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but not wireless. So boo-hoo about that, I guess. I guess how quickly we begin to feel that every car should have wireless.
I actually prefer wired, but that's another conversation.
I do too, because I don't have a phone that will wirelessly charge. So I like plugging in and charging as I'm doing all the other stuff with it. I have somewhat of an ancient Apple iPhone, if indeed one can have something like that. I think it might have been found in a pyramid somewhere. So that's good. But the obvious competition out there is the Chevy Camaro. I think in a lot of ways the Mustang, and I'm a Chevy guy at heart, but I think in many ways the Mustang outdoes the Camaro these days. I wonder what your take on that is.
I agree with that also. The Mustang, it's a better outward visibility. I think the cabin is a little bit nicer, even in all trims, it's more comfortable. The styling we talked about earlier. And, the powertrains, yes, you can buy a very powerful Camaro, but the value that you get from the Mustang can't be beat. So the Chevy is a good car, especially in some of its forms, but I think the Mustang edges it in many ways.
I have to agree. And when we come back, we will be doing an interview with Randy Dale, who will tell us all about the all-new, and you don't say that very often, the all-new Nissan Frontier pickup truck. So stay with us for that. With Chris Teague, this is Jack Nerad with you. And we thank you so much for being with us right here on America on the Road. Welcome back, everybody, to America on the Road. Jack Nerad with you, and we are on location somewhere in the Wasatch Mountains in Utah. And we're very excited about that. We're driving the all-new Nissan Frontier pickup truck. And we're really excited about that because it isn't every day, far from it, that you see a brand new Nissan Frontier pickup truck. And with me is an absolute expert on it. I can't think of anybody who's more expert on it than Randy Dale, who is the senior manager of product planning for Nissan on this pickup truck and on others. Thanks so much for being with us, Randy, number one.
Thank you, Jack. Thanks for having me.
And we are in I should identify where we are. We are literally in a brand new Frontier pickup truck. And give us a little bit of background on this. I say almost facetiously, we don't see one of these every day, and we really don't. It's been a long time since we've had an all-new Frontier pickup, hasn't it?
It has been, but there's good reasons for all of this. Let's start at the very beginning, because I don't know if everybody realizes this. 62 years ago, Nissan introduced the first compact truck in the United States. We were the first in the 220 series of the pickup truck. That was followed by two more series, the 620 and the 720, which then led us to the Frontier series, of which there's 3 generations of that. We're now in our 3rd generation. I've been with the company a number of years, and
but not 62.
Not quite 62. Right. No, not quite 62. But I have been part of the team working on the planning teams of working on the last 3 generations of Frontier. And a lot of the first that also come with it, not only we were first to market, we were the first with a crew cab, first with a 6-foot bed on a midsize pickup truck. We started manufacturing in Smyrna, Tennessee, many years ago in the 80s. And we've just continuously have a mindset of innovation. Maybe I'll talk about that a little bit more, but the truck's been around for a while. It's been a while since we launched it, that's true, and maybe many people would say that. But in reality, a couple of things have happened. There's been a lot of developments within the industry, technologies and such, and we haven't stopped. We never stopped with the Frontier. We kept refining it year over year and found what was good, what worked, what didn't work. Learned a lot from other products in our portfolio, whether they were all the way on the one end of being highly tech or vehicles, or they were commercial vehicles. We've had commercial vans, and we've learned from that. A lot of experience there.
Well, and the one thing the marketplace continued to tell you with the Frontier was it continued to sell. So the marketplace was really accepting of the previous generation of Frontier. And,
absolutely.
Right? So it ran a long time. I mean, how many years did that particular generation run?
Well, the second generation ran from 2005 to today. So it basically was 17 model years. Again, there was a lot of refinement in there. But you're right. We had so many customers telling us, don't change anything. We had as many telling us, when is a new one coming, as they said, don't change anything. Just a reliable tool. And I do a lot of public events for Nissan, and there's a consistency. I see a lot of people with trucks come up to me and tell me about their Frontier. I got 300,000 miles on it. I'm still driving. Here, you need to see a picture of it. And there's a lot of really enthusiastic people with it.
And that enthusiasm is carried through for many, many years. And now it comes time to introduce a new one. And after that length of time, maybe the burden is even higher, right? And the expectations are higher. Tell me what it's like to replace a product that's been in the marketplace that long.
It is. Here's the key, though. You need to do your research. You need to go deep into the research. You need a strong team to develop it. We have a strong engineering team in Japan, Farmington Hills, Arizona test facility. You need a strong planning team to understand the customers fully. You need a great design team to come up with a design that customers want. I mean, really want. Just look at it and I want it. And it takes all of this, but it comes from research. It comes from hours and hours of endless research. And that would be everything from what people would understand as a typical focus group to me standing in the parking lot of a four-wheel drive off-road shop talking to buyers about their cars and trucks.
Which I bet you've done more than once, right?
Many times. Maybe somebody's listening today wondering if I was that guy.
Yeah, that guy, exactly. Why did he want to know so much? You have some pillars that you really wanted this product to reach, right? You had some things to support this whole product plan based on research. Tell our listeners about those things, because I think it's pretty interesting stuff.
Yeah, well, to start with, you can't build the perfect truck for everyone, but you have to understand, what does the midsize pickup customer want? What do they do with the vehicle? And there's a few things that really echoed through. One of them was, first of all, it has to be rugged. It's a truck, but it didn't need to be toy-like. It needed to be rugged, but not toy-like. So that's where the design, when you first see the vehicle, walk up to it, that's where it really comes into play. Also in the interior, when you open up the door, what does that mean? What does that terminology mean? Then there's a rugged portion of it in actual use. So even if you just looked rugged and weren't, of course you're not delivering upon that. And then you started to get into all the needs around the customer. What do they expect the truck to deliver? And how do they expect to deliver it? How utilitarian is it? It's a truck, it has a bed. But many customers use the bed differently. And in fact, between the last generation and today, they're using it drastically different. Something as simple as how to carry mountain bikes in the back bed of your truck has changed over the years, and it continues to evolve. And if you keep in mind that we're keeping this product in the market for years to come, another 5 years, which is a typical
Not
life
17?
cycle. I don't think it'll be 17.
Okay.
I won't guarantee you much. But I'll give you this thought. You have to also have the mindset of what's coming. Just don't launch a vehicle and expect it to be in the market. Market's constantly changing. You have to adapt and move.
And I think that's even more so the case for a pickup truck, right, than it would be for a passenger car or maybe an SUV that seem to change a little bit more frequently. You know, this has got to have staying power. This basic platform is going to live for a long time.
Absolutely. And you have to think of it in all the aspects of how you use your truck in the daily world. Look, midsize pickup customers, it's a 7-day-a-week ownership. It's not like they're just using it on the weekends. Might be off-roading on the weekends, and on Monday morning you need to go downtown. How does that agility, when you have the vehicle, work both downtown in a parking structure that you've never been in before, you got to squeeze in that small space on the end, versus going off-road somewhere outskirts of Boulder, Colorado on the weekend?
Yeah. Let's dive into the vehicle itself. I mean, one of the things that I took away from your presentation this morning was the fact that the size, not only size matters, but getting bigger isn't necessarily better. What we see in a lot of segments that it's always bigger. There's more displacement, the vehicle gets longer, it gets more interior space. That isn't necessarily a big winner for you here, right? I mean, you have to work within a certain footprint. Talk a bit about that, would you?
Yeah. The customer research, and I keep going back to this because so much time was spent, and we take it very seriously, of course. In the customer research, we heard over and over again, whatever you do, don't make it bigger. Don't make it too big. Because that mid-sized customer knows what they need to do with their vehicle. They want to be able to have the ability to get it in the garage. And that varies across the country. I heard everything from nightmares of hailstorms that you got to quickly get your truck in the garage.
Get it out of there,
Yeah, to wanting to load up the night before you go hiking or mountain biking. Put it in your garage, everything's locked and loaded. Saturday morning, boom, out the door and on the road. And then comes the agility in driving. As I talked about the scenes earlier, driving off-road is one scene. But mid-sized customers have to use it, and there's nothing worse, and I've experienced myself, than you suddenly having to go downtown for whatever reason, and now you've got to find a parking space.
Give us the hard ones on this truck. The things you think the consumer should really know about the new Frontier versus the old one.
First thing, design. Take a look at the design. The design should captivate a customer.
Let's hold it up to the radio and people can look at it. It really is a good-looking truck. It is a rugged, good-looking truck, handsome. I think it checks all the boxes that you were trying to check with it.
Second, the heart of it, the engine, the V6, the 3.8-liter, 310 horsepower, 281 pound-feet of torque engine. And we have one engine, and we focused with that one engine, with a 9-speed transmission, and let's do it right. And we mated those together. And a lot of thought went into where it shifts, how it shifts, what conditions you'll be under. The ride itself. Ride and handling was extremely important to us. We can build you a tough vehicle that you can run as hard as you want in Baja, but if it beats you to death the other 5 days of the week, we haven't accomplished anything.
If it knocks your fillings out, you're not going to be happy with it.
Exactly. And so we really concentrated on that, adding the hydraulic dampers in the frame mounts, the dynamic dampers in the steering wheel. It's all about the transmission of the road surface and vehicle as it comes through the body, the frame, and into the owner's compartment, especially in the seat and the steering wheel. Which, by the way, you're sitting in the zero gravity seat.
Right.
Which I would like to see your impression of it 4 to 8 hours from now.
Yeah, well, I enjoyed it this morning, and I got into a competitive vehicle. You had a Toyota Tacoma here, and I immediately grasped that I didn't like the seats nearly as much. Now, I don't think you sabotaged the seats in the Tacoma.
No, absolutely not.
I haven't, certainly wouldn't think you would do that. These are just nice seats, and I spent several hours. I didn't spend 8 hours this morning driving it, but I spent several hours, and the seat is extremely comfortable, and I anticipate it would be comfortable for a long period of time.
Yeah, and that's absolutely what we had in mind. We didn't want just a seat that felt good when you sat in it for a quick run over to Home Depot. We wanted a seat that felt good then and 4 to 8 hours later, because we know what truck owners do on the weekends. You're not fly fishing around the corner from your house very often, unless you happen to live in a very ideal place.
Yes.
And you're driving 4 hours more. We heard it over and over what customers would drive as they moved across the country.
Well, and the test vehicles we had were 4x4s, your top-of-the-line vehicle, very off-road ready, a lot of off-road equipment on it. And at the same time, we did an on-road drive that was lengthy, and I felt good about it. I felt good about the handling. I felt good about the ride, quiet. Certainly the seats were comfortable. Even the cab isolation is good. So, I mean, those are things that you're looking for, right? You're trying to put out there that this is what this truck is offering to the consumer.
Oh, absolutely. And that's thousands of hours of engineering work to get the vehicle to that point. We on the Pro 4X, we have Bilstein shocks. Thousands of hours spent getting the dampening right. How do we get this right to perform well off-road, on the drive to pick up some the Home Depot, but also on the drive to the grocery store, right?
Right. And then off-road. I mean, it was interesting to me, and I've been on many of these things that we're on, where a vehicle is being showed off to us, where you would drive to a place, get out of the vehicle that you drove on the road, and get into a different vehicle, and then drive it off-road. That isn't how this one worked. I mean, we're sitting in the vehicle that I have driven all day long, and drove on the off-road course, which was a pretty challenging off-road course. It maybe ate a few tires and this and that. I think that was impressive. Basically, box stock, off I go up the mountain. Tell me how you're able to put all that together.
That goes through. It came from research, first of all, and as I talked about, the owner will have this for that 7-day-a-week period for a number of years, and they'll experience all those differences. Where it stems from is a very passionate team of engineers. All vehicles have a lot of passion in them, but it's nothing like when you do something like the truck. Remember, 62 years we've had this vehicle in our portfolio. It has deep, deep roots within Nissan. And the engineers, the guys and girls that work on this, they also drive trucks. This isn't phony here. They are all driving trucks also. And we're all critical. We all know what we want, what we need. But we put that on the side. We put it absolutely on the side, and we focus on the customer. How is the customer using this? From one coast to the other, from the north to the south, how are they using this vehicle? And then we start to make decisions. As we said before, we could go really stiff and make something great at high speed, rough off-road conditions, but then it would beat you up. So where do you get it? How do you get the dampening right? How do you isolate the body right? How do you get the wind noise right in the vehicle?
And it's a series of decisions. I mean, incredible amounts of decisions, and over a long period of time. Give our listeners a sense of how long this truck has been in development.
Oh, a general vehicle is in development a good 4 to 5 years. There's a lot of planning that's done up front and a lot of research, and then you'd start to jump into the vehicle. A lot of times you actually start planning the next vehicle while the first one's being launched.
Being launched, yeah, absolutely true. What do you think the consumer should take away from the new vehicle? what do you want them to know about this vehicle as it comes to market a little later this year?
I think what's most key and what's most important for them to understand is we listened. We listened to the customer. And we created a truck based on our research which met the heart of the midsize pickup customer market. Wouldn't walk past it. Before you buy a midsize truck, I highly recommend get behind the wheel.
Absolutely. And you're going to see this on TV, and you're going to like what you see. And then when you get behind the wheel, I'm sure you're going to like what you feel behind the wheel as well. So, Randy Dale, thanks so much for being with us. We really do appreciate all your insights onto this great truck.
Jack, thanks for having me anytime.
Stay with us, everybody. We'll be right back right here on America on the Road. Now it is listener question time, Chris, and I know how you love this portion of the program. And here is the listener question. It's from Lucille in Bartlesville, Oklahoma. Why do so many more people buy SUVs when minivans are less expensive, more versatile, and ride better? What is your answer, Chris?
I'm going to have to give a psychology lesson, Jack. I think we're going to step outside of my expertise. No, I'm joking. But psychology and wants do play a role in this over needs, I think. So I think a lot of people feel that they're safer because they're in a larger vehicle, whether that's true or not. There's some very safe small vehicles with plenty of safety equipment. People like to sit up high and see the road. I think that's part of it as well. And then I think a part of it, as I mentioned earlier, is psychology. People, especially Americans, love their cars. They love styling. Automakers are putting a lot of effort into their styling in their SUVs and putting all the features in there right now. And they're an extremely desirable segment of vehicles, whether people actually put them to use as a utility vehicle, off-road, or hauling and towing. That's probably hit or miss, especially for some brands over others. But I think the perception of being able to do that is just as important as actually being able to do it.
Yeah, I think I'm going to cut to the chase here and just say that SUVs are cooler than minivans, right? I mean, at least a lot of people picture them that way, and I think that's why they sell better than minivans. And I guess that's our show for this week. We'd like to end on a listener question, hoping we're helping people out. And Chris, you always help me by co-hosting the show. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Jack, for having me. Thanks, everybody, for joining us again on our Sports Map Radio second week on the air here, and I hope we're able to keep you along for the ride for the next time.
Absolutely, and of course, we're also available as a podcast, so look for the America on the Road podcast. Thanks to Mercury Insurance for being our sponsor, and most of all, thanks to you for listening. We really do appreciate that, so join us again next time for another edition of America on the Road. America on the Road is brought to you by Mercury Insurance and DrivingToday.com. If you're looking to save some money, you should switch to Mercury for your auto and home insurance. Californians save an average of $670 with Mercury, so imagine how much you could save. Get a quote today at MercuryInsurance.com. And if you're looking to buy a new or used car, get all the automotive information you need from DrivingToday.com. That's DrivingToday.com, the official website of America on the Road.